Hey everyone, I have a two-part project video for you guys today, or two-video project, all part of the same project. Anyway, I was inspired to do this by a YouTuber who I recently discovered called Lindsay Ann, and she is a Harry Potter YouTuber slash booktuber, and she, at this point, I feel like her channel is relatively new. Like, I feel like maybe she's had it for, I want to say less than a year at this point, and she already has 3,000 subscribers, all of which I think she deserves because I think her content is really, really cool. But how I discovered her channel was one of her videos popped up in my suggestions feed, and it was, I read 7 Harry Potter books in 7 days, and I thought this was really cool, like a really awesome challenge, and she ended up completing that challenge, so I thought that was great. I personally could not, like, I know my own limitations, and I know that I could not achieve that without basically not sleeping, because even with all the free time I have, I'm an incredibly slow reader. So even if I were to listen to the audiobooks, I just could not complete all 7 in 7 days. I could probably do all 7 in maybe 10 days or 2 weeks, if I was free that whole time to just read, but yeah, could not do 7 in 7 days. However, her video really inspired me to maybe try reading 3 of them in 3 days. And the reason why I say 3 is because I have, I showed you in November, and then for my Christmas haul, I have the first 3 illustrated editions. And the funny thing is, I just finished my most recent Harry Potter reread in August. Yes, August. And I know that sounds weird that I would want to start a reread over again this soon, but I actually started that reread project back in October of 2015, I believe, and it was my original goal to read the 7, I think the 7 in 7 months, so I think I was going to do 1 a month, starting that September, and it ended up taking me 2 years. I ended up reading the first 2 in September and October, and then I read either 2 or 3 in 2016, and then 2 or 3 in 2017. I think I read 2 in 2016, and then the last 3 in 2017. So it's basically been like 2.5, almost 2.5 years since I read the first 2. So I figured that was a legit excuse. So here I have Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone in the illustrated edition. And I also promised myself when I finished Deathly Hallows back in August that I would not only own the illustrated editions by the next time I wanted to reread them, but that I would also use those as my rereading copies in my next reread. So here's Prisoner of Azkaban. And I figure this is a really cool thing to do at this time because Goblet of Fire is coming out in September, so I can also reread Goblet of Fire October, I think. So I can reread Goblet of Fire when that comes out, because I thought that Goblet of Fire was going to start with, not, how am I trying to say this, that was actually not going to be published until 2019, because I thought Goblet of Fire was going to start Jim Kay doing his, like, every 2 years release thing, because some of them are really, really long, so, and I think Goblet of Fire is one of the really long ones, so I thought, oh, he'll probably not release that till 2019. No, it is scheduled for a 2018 release in October, so I was kind of shocked that that is happening, so that's going to be really cool. So I figured this is a perfect time to reread the first 3 in illustrated format, and the one that I'm most excited about is Prisoner of Azkaban, because it's my favorite of the books, and illustration-wise, it's probably the one I'm most excited about. I think illustration-wise, I'm most excited for the third one, then the second one, then the first one. But I also love so many illustrations in all of these. There are a couple that aren't really my taste, but there are others that I really, really love. So I would say like 90% of these I really think are quite amazing. And I think Jim Kay is incredibly talented. So what I'll be doing is I am taking 3 days, one for each book, and I will be listening to the Jim Dale audio narration and following along in the illustrated or corresponding illustrated edition. And then another thing that I would love to read a little bit of during this readathon is Harry Potter Journey Through a History of Magic. This is the book that the British Library put together that basically goes behind the scenes of their History of Magic exhibition in London, and sadly I cannot make it to that. So I was very happy that they released this internationally for people who can't afford to like hop on a plane and go to London and see it, to be able to see kind of what's in it and get some of the history behind the magic and everything. And there's also another exhibition book that's like a grander, more complete exhibition guide, and that's just called Harry Potter History of Magic, the Exhibition. And it's a beautiful hardcover, and it's got Fawkes the Phoenix on it, and that's really, really cool, but it's quite expensive, and it's only available through Book Depository internationally. Like, obviously, if you're in London, you can buy it, I'm sure, at, like, Amazon UK or in any regular store or at the exhibition itself, but for international fans, it's only available through Book Depository, to my knowledge. Like, I think I've checked a couple other places, and it's quite expensive because it is beautiful. So I think that'll be maybe on my next Christmas wish list, which I know is a while away, so I shouldn't even be thinking about that now. But yeah, so anyway, I will be reading a little bit of this, but not all of it, because it is a coffee table style book, and I can't read those cover to cover. So I'll probably just do a little bit of this. And then one that I've technically already started, so this might actually be finished by the time I do this. Basically, when I'm doing this whole thing is in about a week or like 8 days. And I was going to also reread / re-listen to Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by Newt Scamander. But I started listening to the audiobook last night, the one narrated by Eddie Redmayne, because of course he plays Newt in the film. And I got half an hour into it, and it's only an hour and a half long, so I think I might actually end up finishing my reread of this before this readathon, since it's a week away. And also, I really want to follow along in my physical copy, because I love my physical copy, and I just think it's really cool with like the illustrations and the notations by Harry and Ron. But the thing about that is, since the audiobook has all of the movie beasts added into it, and it also has a new foreword by Newt that incorporates all of the events from the film as like a sort of prequel explanation to the book, or like, you know, how he was writing the book and everything. I think that it's easier to actually just listen to the audiobook instead of following along in here. But what I'll probably do is just follow along in this for the parts that are based on the original text and not the movie beasts, and then I'll just set this aside when he's talking about movie stuff. So yeah, this will probably be finished before the Readathon, so I don't know why I'm including it, but I figured I would include it in case I don't get to finish it for some reason. And then I want to do a Harry Potter Watchathon with all 8 films. This I'm going to split into a day and a half or 2 days because it is 8, you know, all 8 films, and they're all over 2 hours long. I think the last 2 are the shortest, because since they split that story into 2 films, they made each one like 2 hours and 10 minutes instead of like 2.5 hours or something. But because of that, they are like, I think total probably 19 or 20 hours. So because of that, I'm definitely splitting them into 2 days. I'll probably just wake up the first day after the readathon and try to get through as many as possible. Like I could probably make it through the first 5 maybe, and then watch the last 3 the next day. And I would love to color while I do that in my Harry Potter Magical Creatures coloring book that I got from my library last summer for like 50 cents because my coworker is awesome and she saw that this was donated. She's in charge of our book nook, and she saw that this was donated and knew already how much I loved Harry Potter, so she was like, hey, I'll set this aside and see if she wants it, and I totally did. And I've already started coloring in it, just a little. I've started coloring in some of the Cornish pixies, and so I will probably either finish this one to start or pick a different one. And yeah, I think this is a great thing to do while I'm watching the films, because I've gotten to a point where for some reason, like, my brain can't just focus on the film if I'm watching something at home, and I need to do something fidgety with my hands. So often I will go on the computer, and I'll still, like, obviously watch the film, but just be doing stuff on the computer, or I will play solitaire. But in this case, this is great because I can be doing something with my hands, but focus a little more on the film than I would be if I was doing something on the computer. And the great thing about the Harry Potter movies, of course, is that I've seen them umpteenth number of times, so it's okay that I'll be wanting to do something else while I'm watching. So yeah, there's that. And the second part of this video is I really want to have some Harry Potter treats while I am doing this Readathon Watchathon. So the next part of the video, or next video, second part of the project, is going to be me telling you about the Harry Potter things that I would like to try cooking / baking for the first time in preparation for my Readathon Watchathon for yummy things to eat while I'm reading and watching. So that's going to take a little longer, so I definitely wanted to make that a part 2. So I will see you guys for that part, and I hope you enjoyed this little ramble of my my project that I want to do. And if anybody wants to join me in this, that would be a lot of fun. I know that I'm probably maybe one of the only people who has enough free time to try to read these books like one each day for 3 days. But it would still be fun if anybody else wanted to join me, or at least join me in just, you know, even reading one of them, or anyway. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you guys later. I will see you for part 2. Bye.